Hi, I'm Liz. Welcome to my channel, Making It Easy with Liz. Today we're going to do beaded Kumihimo. In my previous video on Kumihimo, you learned how to do the technique of the actual braiding. That technique doesn't change. The only thing that's different is we're going to be adding beads now. And the whole process is super easy, and I have a quick, neat way for you to string your beads onto your cording, and then we're going to end up with this. Isn't that beautiful? Love this. Kumihimo with beads is a great way to get rid of your beads that you have on hand. You go through your stash and you look at these beads and just go, what am I going to do with these, right? So you just sort of toss them off to the side. With Kumihimo, you could say, well, I'll just take those beads and these beads and these beads, and you put it together and you get this fabulous surprise, right? So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show you how to string on your beads. Super easy, super fast. You can even do it in the car, okay? Not while you're driving, though. No, not while you're driving. So let's go ahead and let's do beaded Kumihimo, shall we? Okay, here's our tools and materials for us to do beaded Kumihimo. We need our S-lawn or C-lawn cord. We're going to use fray check on our cord. So you're going to dip the end of your cord into this fray check, let it dry, and that makes it stiff. It makes its own needle, which makes it really easy to string on your beads. We have 6/0 or 6/0 seed beads here. We have two different colors of 8/0s. We have our highlight color and our main color. So you're going to need 2 warps of your 6/0s, 2 warps of your highlight color, and 4 warps of your main color for a total of 8 warps. We have our glue-in finding, 8 bobbins, Kumihimo disc. This is a 4-inch one, which is great for traveling. It's portable, you could throw it in your bag, but the 6-inch disc works just as fine. There's no difference between the two, really. Sharp scissors, fire line for binding your nubbin before you put it into your finding, and E6000 glue. Okay, so now we have everything that we need. Let's go ahead and let's make a really cool bracelet. Okay. I took the end of my S-lawn and I dipped it in the bottle of fray check, and I did it for a couple of inches, and I probably put about 2 or 3 coats on, let it dry in between, and let it get good and dry. You can see that it's like a little needle now. It's got some stiffness to it. So here's a neat trick that I came up with trying to bead in the car, and I thought, how am I going to do this without getting beads everywhere? So instead of cutting my 8 separate warps and trying to bead each one, because then I would have to put fray check on each one, wait for it to dry. I mean, that's no big deal if you've got the time, but I really wanted to get this done in the car. So I fray checked the end of my S-lawn on the spool, and I just started beading on the spool. So as you can see here, I have my sections all made out. So I have my 2 sections of my main big color, which is my 6/0 seed bead. Then I went and I put a seed bead in between to separate them. So I have about 40 or 50, I'm not quite sure how many I have on here. Let's just say maybe 40, 45 for a 6-inch bracelet. Then I went into my main color, which is my bronze here, and I went ahead and I measured out 4 inches, put a little colored bead in between each one, so I have my 4 sections. And then I just transitioned into my highlight color, which is my frosted teal here. I put a bronze one in there to separate it, and now I'm just going to finish up my last warp here, and I just use the section before as a guide to how much I need to put on. So just hold this parallel to the table or to your mat, and then just bump your beads on. Look how cool that is. And if you find the cord wants to bend a little bit, go ahead and just choke up on it a little bit. Bring your fingers a little closer to the tips, and look at that, they just jump right on, just like you do in bead weaving with a needle. Okay. Just got a few more here to put on. Look how easy that is. I love this. I love this for doing Shambhala bracelets. It just helps out so much without having to use a needle. Okay, so that's going to do me. So I have all 8 warps here. I have 2 of my 6 O's, 4 of my main color 8 O's, and 2 of my highlight. So now I have 8. So now we're going to cut this. We're going to cut this into the lengths that we need, okay? Now I have decided that I wanted to, the general rule is 3 inches of cording per 1 inch finished length of your bracelet or your necklace or whatever it is. So let's say I want 6 inches, then I would need 18 inches of cord just to finish my bracelet. It's not so, you don't really need to adhere to that 3 inches because this is so fine, but I still do because I like extra, because you need to wind it around your bobbins to get it to stay on. Lots of extra to work with. And you're gonna do a little bit of Kumihimo, a little bit of a nubbin at the beginning and the end, and then we'll bind it and finish it off. So you want to have a nice nubbin there, so you want to give yourself extra cord. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself probably about a yard and a half. Why not? Actually, I'm going to use the length of my table here as my measurement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bobbin and I'm going to stick it in a cup. Let me just go ahead and go get a cup. Into a cup, because I'm going to start unwinding that, and that just keeps that from rolling all over the place. So we're gonna tie a knot at the end, and if your bead is too big for one knot, like your hole of your bead is too big, you might want to make it into a stopper by slipping it through twice, you know, just looping it around and then tying a knot, or tying a double knot, whichever works for you. So hey, I've got a knot. So now I'm going to slide down my first warp of beads to the end, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to measure it off. So I'm going to do about a yard. I'm going to do about a yard and a half, which is the length of my table I'm working here. So you don't see that, but I'm going to be doing about a yard and a half, maybe even a little bit more. Okay, so now I'm going to cut that, and I'm going to tie this in a knot. So this is my first warp, and I'm just going to tie a knot at the end, an overhand knot at the end. Okay, and so here is our first one. And what I like to do, actually, is I like to go ahead and I like to stick the end of it into my disc. Now, the way this is going to be set up is I'm going to do a highlight color to the right of this dot, and a highlight color directly across to the left of the dot below. And this is my highlight color that I'm starting with. So I'm going to go ahead and just stick it down into the hole and place that right in there. It just keeps everything neat and tidy. So now I'm going to take this other end, I'm going to go ahead and put it on my bobbin. So just pop that open. Just hold the thread with your thumb and just wind it around and get a good amount of cording in there. Bring half of your beads down and wrap them around with cording in between, and then just close her up, and this is what we end up with. Okay, so that's the first section. So I still have this little stopper bead here. Excuse me, not a stopper bead, but my marker bead. So take that off because we don't need that. So now don't forget to tie a knot at the end. So we're going to tie a knot at the end here. And now we're going to do our next section. And you're going to continue to do this for all 8 warps. So I've got my knot, but remember to bring down your beads to the end of the knot that you just made. and then go ahead and feed it. Okay, I'm going to cut that. And I'm going to tie a knot at the other end. Do not forget to tie knots. You'll do that once. Okay, now I'm going to take my end, I'm going to feed it through the center of my disc here, and this one is on this side, so this one's going to come down, not straight down from it, but at an angle to the other side of this dot here. And now I'm going to go ahead and wind my bobbin. Okay, I like to crisscross that and get that really anchored in there. Just get yourself some in there. Bring down half of your beads. Wind those around, and you have to have some cord in between your two sections of beads, because when you need to feed, you need more beads, you can just pull up on it, and that extra cording will allow your beads to stay in place, but will give you more cord. If you don't, then you have to open it up and you have to unwind all those beads and then separate them. So I always like to do it in the beginning. So there we go. There's two. Okay, so now what's going to go on the other side of this side and this side are going to be my 6/0 beads. So those are going to be my larger beads. And then the two sides on either side of it here, east and west, is going to be my 4 main color 8/0 warps. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to continue to cut my warps and get this set up, and then we'll continue from there. Okay, so now I have everything is put onto the disc. I have my little weight attached with a paper clip through the knot. Doesn't have to be fancy. And I have my bobbins all filled up with their beads. Now, I'm going to assume that you watched my first video on Kumihimo for beginners and that you already have the technique down. So I'm not going to get real technical about how you actually Kumihimo. For today we're going to find out how to put beads in your Kumihimo. Okay, so first we're going to Kumihimo a nubbin. Okay, so we're going to start at the top here, and we're going to start on the right side. So we're going to start at the top. Okay, let's go ahead and begin. We're going to start with the right side up at the top, right side down, left side up, quarter turn to the left, right down, left up, quarter turn to the left. Okay, so we're just going to keep on doing this. And we're going to do a nubbin. Okay, so I've got a little nubbin done up here, as you can see. See that little nubbin there? Alright, that's good enough. That's good enough. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to add the beads. Okay, so first let me recoup how you know where to begin. Okay, see how this warp and this warp is running on top of these? That means that's that third one right here that went up. That means that when you find that going over, that means you need to make a quarter turn, and you're going to start with the warp that's laying underneath the warp. Okay, that's where you're always going to begin. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead in here. I need to give myself a little more. See, this is why you want to have cord in between your two sections of beads, because you can just pull on it and it'll give you some feed you some cord. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to take and separate my bead that I'm going to use from the rest. Now I'm going to pop it out, and I let the weight of my bobbin I just let that slide down so that I can keep this bead down here. So now this bead is going to pop right underneath that warp. Get in there. Okay, and then you're going to come down and put it right in its place. Now, see how that's almost starting to pop out? What we want to do is we want to tighten this warp here. You want to make sure the warp that bead's going to sit under is nice and tight. And see that? There we go. See how that popped right in there up against the middle there? That's exactly what we want. Okay, so now we're going to do the other one. We're going to come here. I'm going to pick a bead, and I just pop it up. I just let this slide, let that slide down, and as I come up, I pop that bead underneath, and I pop that in. All right, see how that's underneath there? And then you can always just give that warp a little tug, this one right here. You want to make sure that the warps that they're going to be sitting under are nice and tight, and that will keep them in. Okay, we don't want them popping out. If you see a bead sitting on top here, it popped out, and you'll have to undo it and go back and fix it. Okay, so that was the last one I did. Quarter turn. I'm going to select another bead. Don't forget to bring down a bead. Okay, select a bead. Pop it underneath as I bring it over. And listen, don't tug on this warp. So you can put your thumb on that to keep the tension from getting too tight. And see how nicely that's sitting under there? That's perfect. Okay, so let's pull another bead up. Pop that right up underneath to keep your slack from getting too tight there, or keep some slack. And there you go. Quarter turn to the left. So this is all it is. So now we've got our 6/0 here. That's a big bead. We're going to pop him right in there. Hold our cord for tension. And there he is. He's nice and snug in there. Now let's go for this other one here. Pop him underneath. Bring that up. All right. When you're first beginning, it's a good idea for you to put your thumb there until you start getting a feel for the tension and whatnot. And these don't have to slide all the way in if you find that it's easier to just kind of get them pinched in there halfway. Quarter turn to the left. Pick a bead. Pop it in, bring it down. Now see how that pulled? Okay, so it's a good idea to keep your thumb there, but if I pull on this warp that it's sitting under, see how that just popped it right in there? Okay, so now pick a bead, pop it underneath, hold this, bring it up. Great. Okay, so let's just continue on. Bring down a bead, pop it right underneath there, hold the cord with your thumb, and there you go. So this is all you're going to do throughout the whole entire thing. Easy peasy. Okay. Okay, so just keep on doing that. Okay, so now you get the idea of how to bring your beads down and get them underneath the warps and add them into your work. See that? Okay, remember that if the slack is pulling too much, to put your thumb over the warp as you pop it into the into the little slot there, and then go ahead and tighten up the warps that they are sitting under. Okay. Okay, again, we want to start where the warp is laying underneath. So I'm going to show this to you one more time, and then I will continue on and we'll come back, and then I'll show you how to finish it off. It will be the same way as what is in my other video for binding and attaching the clasp to Kumihimo. But I'll show you how to do it on this one also. Okay, so we'll be back in a flash. But look how pretty that's turning out. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to size this on yourself. There's really no magic way to do this. So what I do is I pinch my beads right here and I pull on my cord so I can pull it out the bottom here. And what you're going to do is you're going to go from bead to bead around your wrist. Forget the nubbin, okay? That's going to be inside your finding. So it's all about the beads. Now my finding is about 1.5 inches. I want about a 1/2 inch slack. So what I want to see is 1 inch space between my my two ends here. So let's just see if I can't get this to work out for me here. Okay, so see the spacing I have there? I probably have about 1 inch or a little bit more space. It depends on how tight you want your bracelet to be. I don't want it so snug that, ugh, it's like, you know, ah. So I need to add a couple of more. I need to add a couple of more rows here. So let's just go ahead and do that so we can recap what we're doing. Okay. Now see that bead right there? I believe that popped out. So let me show you what you have to do when you make a mistake. You have to back up. So we're going to take the one that's going over, and I'm going to have to take that bead back. Okay, and so just back yourself up. I didn't even have a bead in there. This is what happens when you hurry. Okay, so now I'm going to, see that one sitting right there? See that bead? See how it's sitting on top? I believe that that slipped out. So we're going to back up. Oh, see, look at, there's another one that popped out. Yep, they popped out. So when I pulled that out, it kind of wrecked it a little bit. So let's just go ahead and fix these. This is always a pain in the butt. So listen, pay attention to what you're doing. Don't hurry and don't get distracted. And you won't have to go through this every time. There's my bead right there. Okay, that was the one that popped out. So now I'm going to get that one back in. Okay, so just watch what I'm doing for a little while longer here, in case you need to. I think I'm right back where I was before, so we're just going to do a couple more rows here. Okay, I think that's going to do me, so I'm going to end off with my little size 8/0 seed beads. Okay, all right, so, okay, I think that's enough. That's long enough for me. And now I'm just gonna Kumihimo cord to put a nubbin on it. And then we'll tie it in a knot, and then we'll bind it off, and we'll put a clasp on. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my nubbin, and I'll show you what that looks like. And then the next video will be finishing it off, binding it and putting a clasp on. Okay, I think that's enough for our nubbin. See, that's enough for me to work with. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to take off our bobbins. Okay, we're going to take off our bobbins. So we're just going to unwind all of our warps. Now you see how much, look how much cording I have left over. That might be overkill. So listen, I need you to just use your own discretion on how much extra you want to put on your work. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove all my bobbins, and then we're going to remove this from the disc and tie it off. Okay, I removed all of my bobbins, and now I'm going to take off my weight. And we're going to pop off. We're going to hold our cord, pinch it right here, and we're going to pop off all of our warps. And we're going to pull this through and off. And here we have this excess here. We're going to tie a knot right at the end here, just an overhand knot. Okay, just like that. Now we're going to cut these off. Now we could take the beads off of the cords later and put them back in their containers. Okay. All right, so here's what we have. That's what we have. So I'm going to cut the ends off of this side here. Okay, so now we have our beautiful bracelet. I like to give it a little pull just to stretch it out a little bit. And as you can see, when I put this around me, it's probably a little closer than an inch. Let's see here. There, that's my spacing. That's probably perfect for me. That's going to give me enough slack so that it's not too tight, but it's not too loose. All right, so there we go. Lovely. So tune in to my next video and we'll bind it off and we'll add the clasp. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel. I really, really enjoy showing you this stuff, and I hope you subscribe so that I can show you more.